Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea. You know that, I know that. I'm just a lady with a bulldog, a camera, and far too many opinions. And today we need to talk about EthansAdventures. That's his online pseudonym. His name is Ethan Morris.
My name's Ethan and I'm a Disney TikToker.
We've already done one more so surface level video about Ethan, but since that video, we have had a lot of not only his colleagues, not only people who worked closely with him previously, also people who have just seen him in the parks and had bad experiences with him, but then also people who feel like they've been exploited, lied to, manipulated by him, just taken advantage of overall. Let's go ahead and just call them victims. We've received, and when I say we, I mean me and my researcher, Kelly. Shout out to Kelly. She's amazing. And we have received so many emails, direct messages on multiple different platforms regarding Ethan since that first video that we did about a week and a half ago about Ethan. Now, I said it in my first video about Ethan, and I felt a little bit corny saying it, how I really feel like he has stripped that magic away for a lot of these people regarding Disney and their experience with it, because they don't want to see him at the parks. And this human version of a skid mark is at Disney World, Disneyland Paris, like 7 days a week, 6 days a week. It is just too much. I have ride operators DMing me saying that they saw my video and they just saw him and they can't stand him and that he's obnoxious. But I really do think that that sentiment stands true. Not only that he's obnoxious, but that he has really been able to paint himself as a victim, in my opinion, and evade criticism from people like me, right? Or people from like the outside of this entire community itself. It seems as though any criticism that he has received has really stayed contained into this smaller genre of content, this smaller, sub-community of content, which is quite interesting. And the reason why I say that it's quite interesting is, content warning here, Ethan has been accused of many things, from digital panhandling to exploiting the death of family members to manipulate his viewers, who some of which are absolutely, allegedly, let me rephrase that, allegedly funding his entire life. And then there have even been accusations of grape. And I'm not talking about the fruit, without the G, okay? I am going to have to do some censoring with the language that I'm using in this video, as I always do with my channel and with my content. But I feel like this is a community that we haven't really made many videos about. So we're probably going to have some new people. I feel like Disney, they would know that, but still, just to make that clear, it's not because I'm some woke snowflake, which I am quite woke. However, I don't be melting. I am unique. Anyways, we're going to use some censored language because we don't want to get demonetized. Many of my videos do get demonetized, but the reason mainly why I don't ever want to, obviously, sure, I would like to be paid for my work, but because when a video is demonetized, the YouTube algorithm suppresses it and doesn't even show it to people who are subscribed to you. And this is a video that I really want to do well, just like all my videos, obviously, but especially ones that are calling out people who have hurt other people. So in this video, we're going to go over these allegations. We're going to go over these victims' stories in their own words. And then also we're going to showcase multiple instances how Ethan has been able to gain control over his followers and really the dynamic within his community as well. Now, when we started initially doing interviews, talking with people regarding Ethan Morris, many victims of his, including some ex-moderators of his as well, had expressed that they firmly do believe that he has formed a cult. However, other people who spoke out didn't necessarily use the term cult, but they did describe their original view of Ethan as a flawed but charismatic young man who had been through a lot, including the recent loss of his mother. Now, as his alleged victims got to know Ethan better, it seems like a darker reality did appear. Now, with this video, as with all of my content, I obviously do try to do everything within my ability to confirm that everything that is being alleged to me is accurate, is not just blatant lies or anything like that. Everything that I'm stating has been alleged to me. I'm not stating it as a fact. This is not defamation, slander, libel, anything like that. This is not bullying. I am simply just sharing the information as it has been shared to me. Having said that, let's get into it. Ethan was a man whose entire platform had been built on lies, threats, and abuse. Multiple victims featured in this video have asked to remain anonymous and have shared that they are worried for their own safety due to Ethan and his followers' dangerous, manipulative, and predatory behavior. This fear did not appear out of thin air. Several ex-moderators and followers have shared that Ethan stalked multiple victims. When the term cult is brought up, you might be thinking of the Manson family, Heaven's Gate, the Branch Davidians, and of course, the 918 people who died following Jim Jones and his cult, the People's Temple. However, it is important to note that not all cults are the same, and they don't follow a how-to cult 101 guidebook. In order to gain a better understanding of the grooming, grifting, scamming, sexual assault, and rape allegations made against Ethan Morris, as well as the allegations of his followers that they are in a cult, let's do a quick overview. Per the Oxford Dictionary, the word cult is defined as follows: a relatively small group of people having beliefs or practices, especially relating to religion, that are regarded by others as strange or sinister or as imposing excessive control over members. And listen, at first, when some people were saying that too, we were like, okay, well, all right, okay. All right. But looking more into it and realizing the information control, the shunning, the thought control that happens within this group, it's truly wild. There is no questioning allowed in this group. Now, one of my favorite people, one of the utmost just icons when it comes to education on cults, not only Dr. Stephen Hassan, but psychiatrist Robert J. Lifton is the icon. Not me literally bowing down to him, and cult leader. Robert J. Lifton, who once taught at Harvard Medical School, wrote a paper titled Cult Formation in the early 1980s. He delineated 3 primary characteristics, which are most common features shared by destructive cults. 1, a charismatic leader who increasingly becomes an object of worship as general principles that may have originally sustained the group lose power. That is, a living leader who has no meaningful accountability or becomes the single most defining element of the group and its source of power and authority. Now, think about it. A lot of these people may have started watching Ethan's content because they want to see parts of the park, or, they want to see not only Disney World, but Disneyland Tokyo, Disneyland Paris. I mean, I know personally, are you ever going to be able to go to those 2 places? No, neither am I. Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. And there are people who even, not only just because financially, but they're never going to see any of this type of stuff, right? They might be bedridden. They might be a dream for them to, and just absolutely not feasible. And Ethan streams constantly on TikTok, the parks, all these details, and going on the rides. He literally is streaming the entire time. And yeah, watching it, you feel like you are walking around the park. You feel like you are on the ride with him, which is a nightmare, but still. So these people watching him, I'm sure, they first come for the content itself, right? For the Disney of it all. But then it really does seem like that takes on a life of its own, and they're staying for him. They're hearing his sob story. And really, it does seem like in these streams and with this content, it is more about him specifically and his begging and his life and things like that, and his woes and struggles, rather than the content itself. And don't get me wrong, I definitely am a believer in that. Even with my content, you might come for the subject of the video itself, but ultimately, you can watch these types of videos on anyone's channel. So you come for the content, you stay for the creator. But when that line is crossed, and when that creator is raking that parasocial 2-way mirror of sorts and telling you lies and exploiting your emotions to then get money from you and get sympathy from you and threatening you, and it's discouraged to question anything he says or does, then it's not about the content anymore. Now that was a super smooth transition. I have not seen you in so long. It's Uncle Reggie. I don't know if you could tell because my mullet's growing out. There's something else you probably don't know either, and that is that the internet is trying to get inside your brain and tell you what to think, and that's not okay. People have no idea they're being influenced when they think they're being informed. Now, that's why Ground News is my go-to platform for the news, to be able to compare these stories, the headlines, the truth, the biases, the fact checks, and why I love that Chelsea put them on their channel. She got me set up with that Vantage plan. And let me tell you one more thing. I just, nothing? Get back under the desk. Okay, I'm sorry. Think about what I said. Think about it. I'm so sorry, guys. He told you about Ground News? Okay, I guess I'll at least just keep telling you about it. I don't know. So Ground News has obviously helped me with that guy, clearly, but I definitely do love knowing where information that I'm reading is coming from. I always say consider the source, and obviously I do mean that, not literally sometimes. I do be hyperbolic. But obviously, I mean that literally too. If you don't know where your information is coming from and just believe it willy-nilly and not understand biases and things like that, and who's profiting and benefiting from you believing certain information, you're just going to end up looking silly. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be educated and know all sides of everything, okay? Even if you don't agree with it. Ground News was founded by a female former NASA engineer who saw a much bigger problem here on Earth instead of focusing on, whatever is going on in space or aliens or something like that. And so the only app out there helping you think for yourself and see all sides, gathering articles from thousands of sources around the world, organizing them by story, and then analyzing the political lean, credibility, and even those financial incentives, like I just mentioned, behind each perspective. Y'all know I love when you think critically and logically and all that. You can be silly and goofy too, but when it comes to taking in information, that's obviously more important, okay? Follow your favorite topics, even check out their blind spot feed so you can see, hey, maybe I'm missing a key factor of this topic, of this story. So make sure you go to ground.news/cc or click the link in my description box to sign up for the plan that I use every day and the one that I got Uncle Reggie started with too. And you'll save 40% on their Vantage plan. Like I said, that's the one I use, and that is ground.news/cc. And that knocks down the cost to just $5 a month. Thank you, Ground News, for being a continued sponsor of my channel. Thank you to you guys for continuing to support my sponsors. And now back to the video. Now, another aspect in cults is the BITE model, which is behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. Now, information control is something that I have seen quite a lot, and thought control in this little Ethan cult. Now, information control isn't always just not letting you look at information, right? And that's where a lot of people might get tripped up with that, because a lot of times it can be you downplaying information and facts, or it can be you proactively planting seeds of doubt so that when someone is confronted with opposing information and facts, that completely dismantle anything that you have said to them before and what your relationship with them is based on and built on, then they already have reason to not believe it. We've actually seen this a lot with the serial con artist that me and Sherilyn Dale have been covering on the Elizabeth podcast. That is an audio only podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify. And we're about to release season 2 at the end of this month. It is insane. But that's something that she has done quite a lot with a lot of different people. She'll tell people one thing, and then that way, by the time they talk to a different person about it and they say, oh, well, actually, Elizabeth did this, in the back of their head, they have that little seed of doubt where they're like, Liz told me like years ago that this person's a huge liar and like I shouldn't believe anything they said. And even if that information did come from a con artist who hurt them, they still might believe it because they were told it so long ago. So again, that right there is a great example of information control, where you are doing things to control how people not only receive information, but how they process information and if they believe it or not. So here's an example of Ethan's moderators on Discord believing that he's being falsely accused by people on Reddit. Now, some context. Someone on Reddit outed Ethan for sexual assault or possibly rape. His mods refuse to believe it and immediately dismiss it. They also out the person who allegedly made the claim, and Ethan says that he got her pregnant. Now, one thing here is that without that context that's already there that I gave you already, reading this, you could just look at it. Again, this is a great example of information control. If someone doesn't know that context, that backstory of what they're apparently referring to, you could just look at that and see here like, oh my gosh, I hate Reddit. Are you talking about the Ethan one? And he said, did I say hi to someone again? Because what can happen is in the Ethan subreddit, in the Disney, I think it's like Disney Park Swindlers or one of the many Reddit pages that cover this type of community and content. If he says hi to someone just in passing or whatever, even if he doesn't know them, just being polite, saying hi, and they comment on a thread, poke fun at it, be like, that was so awkward, he said hi to me, something like that, right? Then his moderators may see it. That's what they're talking about right here. So he said, did I say hi to someone again? Which arguably, again, without the context, that's pretty funny. He's like, oh God, did I look at someone? But we know the context. And another person said, yes. Another person said, me too. That's why I stopped looking, in response to someone saying, I hate Reddit. And another one says, you said, hey there, LOL. And Ethan said, yeah, it's not worth looking at. And another one said, to Danny's ex, LOL, which apparently is someone that he had physical contact with. And he said, I basically got her pregnant. I didn't know that it was Danny's ex. And another person said, how dare you? And then so on and so forth. Now, regarding Reddit, I do want to say you can find some valuable, constructive feedback on Reddit. There is an aspect of anonymity. Maybe people wouldn't feel comfortable giving you constructive feedback if they aren't anonymous. Little suggestion box moment. Okay. However, making false claims about people, and even though no matter what they say, you're not going to believe them, which, okay. But being incessant, continuing to post about them every single day from anonymous accounts, every single day. That's not just calling out unethical behavior, because dear God, there's not that much unethical behavior. I'm obviously talking about myself. Now, I do just want to say, like, there is an aspect of this that I do get. And I think that Ethan is using that of like dismissing everyone as haters and all that as discrediting anything that's on there. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some not nice things said about him. Okay. But also there's valid things on there. Very, very valid. I do just want to say as well, if you don't know that something is a fact and you just please do not spread misinformation, please don't do that. Okay. Thank you. That's going to get clipped. I just know it already. So I do just want to say, again, as someone who has received a lot of harassment like on there, and again, there is sometimes at this point with me, it's like 5%. But so like I'm trying to say is that I know what that looks like. And from what I have seen on posts about Ethan, in my opinion, it's mostly valid criticism of him. Ethan's moderators not only put him on a pedestal and excuse the evidence showing his dangerous and predatory behavior, they also treat him like a little kid who just dropped his ice cream. The screenshots here feature Ethan bitching about having to be paid to walk around Disney and look for merch, which is also funded by his followers and moderators. He also takes a moment to claim he might be a victim of a deranged Disney merch enthusiast. Hopefully we don't die tomorrow. I heard someone say in Grand Cal as I was leaving that if she didn't get the Mr. Toad merch, she would have killed then robbed people for it. Also, instead of offering to pick up one of these items for a mod, he directed them toward Poshmark, where the item was listed for $1,200. Ethan really does seem to use his mod chat in Discord like a little therapy and like a little circle jerk, but he's the only one that's getting jerked. Ew. Sorry. Here's an example of first world problems. He's in so much pain walking around the parks, and he thinks that it could be because he's lugging around an extra 160 pounds. I'm thinking that extra 160 pounds is merch, just from like context clues here. Enough of Discord complaining. Let's go ahead and get into, progressively worse things. That's how this video is going to go. Just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So buckle up. Let's go ahead and go over some lies. I like to rapid fire lies. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a little montage of Ethan while we go over some lies. Okay. Ethan claimed he worked as a cast member at Disney. He did once say he used to be a cast member in Walt Disney World, but then when many people did the math, he would have been 15 at the time. To our knowledge, you cannot be 15 and work at Disney. And then we got a DM from someone and they want to remain anonymous. It says, I watched Chelsea's video about Ethan Morris as soon as it was posted. I sent her a DM, but I also found your account on here, my researcher. Scrolling through Reddit, I didn't feel as comfortable to share publicly on Reddit because I'm not sure how many people have had the same happen to them, and I don't want to make it super obvious that it's me. During the pandemic, my friends and I were at the park and bumped into Ethan. We were all mutuals on Instagram and kind of formed a group who visited the parks all together. Love that for them. Sounds like so much fun. Ethan said he was a nurse, and this was during the pandemic, so we kind of scratched our heads as to why he would have so much time to go to the parks at that time. We didn't think much of it and just kind of brushed past it. He said he was 20 back then as well, and he looked about the same that he did now, minus the beard. I thought he looked older, but again, I didn't say anything. We basically were one huge friend group from fall until the beginning of 2021. We come to find out from other mutuals that everything he said was a lie. He wasn't a nurse and he wasn't even 20. As soon as he found out that we found out, he blocked all of us on everything. He blocked us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and even Venmo. That's diabolical. It was like he wiped us clear from his mind. It was the most bizarre thing that my friend group has ever experienced, especially since we welcomed him in with open arms. Like I said, I've been reaching out because I've never seen anyone talk about this. He was notorious for little white lies, and those piled up and basically screwed him over. It seems like he has a cycle where he sets up camp in one of the Disney parks, rotating between Florida, California, and Paris mainly, and will hang out there until more people find out that he's a liar and a creep. A lot of things he says never add up. He always comes up with some half-cocked plan during a stream and then never goes through with it. All of the allegations, when they started, said, is when I started to question. I found out later that he would show pictures of either my sister or me next to him in on-ride photos and tell others that we were his date or something scummy like that, which always gave me the ick. Ethan said that he had an ex-fiance who he used to live with and that he was renting out the house they used to live in. Ethan claimed that he gets multiple death threats every single day. He has not shown any evidence backing up these claims. Now, I find it very interesting that he says that he receives a bunch of death threats because, as Jesse and Lily from the Do We Know Them podcast say, like, no, you don't. You do not receive death threats. You might receive hate or someone saying like, you should be not alive, but it's not like, I'm going to come to your house and do this. It's not a plan of action. It's not a threat that they are threatening to do this to you. Stop. Okay. And I can't remember the last time. I know I have received one before. I definitely have. I don't know how I would even try to go about finding them. If it's something super unhinged, I'll delete, block, get away from me. But like if it's kind of funny, I will screenshot it and put it everywhere. So I don't think I even have any proof of that. And again, not trying to make this about me, but relating it back to like, I am also a content creator, but also my platform's much bigger than his, right? How many does he have on? Oh, I would love to look, but he blocked me. Just forgot he blocked me on TikTok and Instagram. Rightfully so. Okay, so on TikTok, he has 117,000 followers, way more than me, obviously. And then he has 13,000 on YouTube. Okay. Still though, as someone who's been on the internet for what, almost 10 years now, and being a woman as well, you would think that I would receive way more than him. What I'm trying to say is I don't believe that he receives death threats at all. I don't. I think that he's playing the victim. I think he's making it up. I think it's something flippant and easy to say, which you shouldn't say, that you shouldn't lie about harassment that you're receiving or like threats that you're receiving on your life. However, if he wants to show me screen recordings of said harassment or threats, I would absolutely love to see those, which he won't show me those because he has me blocked on Instagram and he blocked me on TikTok because I kept commenting because I said, "Hi, Ethan." In all caps. I'm a troll. What are you going to do? But still, saying that you receive them every single day, like, no, you don't. Even Michaela Naguera, even Jaclyn Hill, even Mr. Beast, even Ethan Klein probably does not receive death threats every single day. Okay. Ethan Morris, I don't think so. And again, that is just in my own professional experience. I'm not stating that as a fact. That's just my opinion. Now let's talk about Ethan lying about having a heart attack, because that's fun, as one does. Now, Ethan, as I just said, claimed that he had a heart attack and that he was hospitalized afterwards. Strangely enough, he was spotted at Disney during this time. Disney doesn't have a hospital. Now, what happened when he was called out for this? He did not like it. He did not like it. He posts his own obituary. That seems like something that he would do, honestly. So per this post in r/Disney influencers, this says, "Is Ethan about to stream again? A friend of mine spotted him in the lobby of a hotel in Kissimmee. If he is near Walt Disney World, I assume he will go streaming again soon." And here is the evidence. A creator who was at the D23 event was like, "Oh my God, it's Ethan." And the person who saw the picture, and when Ethan was sent that post of him at Disney, after he just said that he was hospitalized because he had a heart attack, like currently in the hospital because of a heart attack, he said, of course it wasn't him. Now go ahead and tell me if you think this is him. I 100% think that that's him. Look at that outfit. Who else would wear an outfit like that? Now, he told his mod chat at the time that he was in a rehab facility because he had just had a heart attack. And then he even shared a picture from his window, from his room in the rehab facility to back up that lie. Now, someone commented and said, your hotel got out to the public, and obviously that wasn't put in the mod chat. So it seems like it's not just the mods, because when he was getting pushback of people being like, you are literally at Disney, people are seeing you, Ethan. You're not in a hospital. You're not in a rehab facility. Probably didn't even have a heart attack. Like, you are a lying liar who lies. Instead of addressing anything, he got mad at his mods for leaking his hotel. And of course, just avoiding responsibility and lying to his moderators in general. But our favorite part of the call out is that someone looked at the view and they were like, okay, well, I can see where that is. Let me go ahead and do Google Street View. And they found it, and they showed proof that it is a hotel, a Ramada Inn in Kissimmee. It is not a rehab facility. It is not a hospital. That's a Ramada Inn. There's not even a hospital near it. Now, Ethan addressed all of this in a call with his moderators. Now, due to not only journalistic integrity, but also, following the law, I cannot share that audio with you. I cannot make that public. We could argue that but that's protected under whistleblower, public interest, stuff like like that. I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. It would be way more fun for me to do a dramatic reenactment of the call that he had with his moderators in the insane that he said. So we're going to do that instead. I will be performing for you a dramatic reenactment of this mod call. I would also like to preface that they have these mod calls a lot. These happen quite frequently, and these people like do a lot, not only in like scheduling things for him, moderating his content, his live streams, which do get like a good amount of views, but then also like maintaining his community in general, especially with people in other countries and cross platforms, like just in general, cultivating his community, it seems. And they do all that for free. Not only are they doing all this for free, a lot of them are giving him a lot of money. That is insane. But Ethan gets called out during this one, and I think it's very telling. So let's go ahead and do our dramatic reenactment of Ethan's Adventures mod call. We're going to start off with the reason for the delay of the mod call. It was delayed a couple hours. Unfortunately, my hotel got leaked and I had to move because the hotel got calls. Now I'm just moving everything, so I apologize that that's the case. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good. All that fun stuff. We're going to get into some lighter stuff while I'm doing this. Anyways, I hope everyone's doing good. I know there's a lot of stuff going around that has people nervous and on edge and all that fun stuff. Well, I guess I shouldn't say fun stuff, just all that stuff, which is very sad. I do have points that I want to get through. Our calls back in the day used to take 8 to 10 hours. And so I want to get through all my talking points. Someone leaked my hotel and I'm not sure who. I got a phone call from the front desk saying that someone was calling asking for Ethan Morris. And that sucks for me, but it is what it is. Here we go. The general vibe that's been going on, I know for the last couple months, it's been rough. We've all been going through things. I know we are not as close as we once were, and that's okay. That's okay. Things in life happen. It's about how we rebuild and regrow. I want to thank you for sticking around. I want to thank you for those who have voiced their opinions and been vocal about how they're feeling and how they're going through this as well. I'm very thankful for you all, and I do want to say something though. This gets us into our first topic. I've been hesitant to bring it up, and I don't want to cause division, and I don't want to cause any panic or doubt, but the last few months, it's been really evident to myself, to the admins, and to some of you mods that the mod chat is no longer a safe place for me. I don't know about for you. For me, whenever I have something of serious nature happen that I type on the mod chat, unfortunately, it goes straight to Reddit. I'm not saying that it's one of you leaking it, but it's interesting that if I put something in the mod chat, that it will be released within 2 hours to the public. I have worked so hard to build this beautiful family, and I'm very thankful for that. I just don't want to discredit that. I want to be careful. It's been very damning to see the fall of this, and it's very sad for me. What I've been told is that people are calling hotels all over. Unfortunately, true. Maybe someone is stalking. I don't know. That's the problem. It's not even the first time it's happened. It's the third time. I want to say this. The most important thing I can do is be honest. If you're expecting or only staying around because you're wanting some sort of statement or explanation to everyone, I'm not going to give much detail. Legally, I'm not allowed to. This is a very private thing when something like this happens. Every detail of my life, there are private things that happen, and I wanted to keep this private. I'm a very private person, and I don't trust easily, and I don't like a lot of people. I know that's different than what you've seen on the internet and on streams. This is my escape from reality. Something I want to talk about is the future, and for those of you wondering, this is not the end of It's Ethan Morris. Life is lifing. Do I know when I'm going to be back? Not yet. I think that's the beauty of the situation I'm in. And then there were multiple minutes of dead air and Ethan sounding like he forgot that he was on the phone, and grunting sounds, like just in general, just like dad sounds in general, like gargling and random grunting and throat clearing noises. And then a lot of Ethan saying, did I plug this in? I could have sworn I plugged this in. Ah, it's so hot. For far too many minutes. If you feel like that, if you feel like I'm trying to figure out how to word this. If you want to distance yourself in that sense from me, then I'm not going to hold that against you. I'm not going to see it as picking sides, but I don't want to make it about me. I don't want to. So I apologize. But yeah, let's talk about battling on TikTok. I think it's shameful. If other people do it, that's fine, but it's not going to be something that I do. I find it to be, I don't know. Anyways, I think there's a level of growing that I need to do personally, and there's a level of growing that we all need to do together. I understand things are going to happen. We will most likely lose people today. It's very truthful. We've lost people today already. Oh, why do I think we've lost people? For a multitude of reasons. For a multitude of reasons, I think we've lost people. And now one of his admins comes on, and when I tell you this man sounds, just his accent is so beautiful. I love a good Javier Bardem. I love his voice. Just like this man, not even his accent, just his voice is amazing. And he really is like coming with like emphasis on the right things. And I don't know, I like this guy's vibe. I even told my researcher Kelly, I was like, girl, do we, like, I know we're not showing the guy's name or, you know, this admin, but like, do we have that information? Like, can we track him down? And like, he's great. We should get him on our team. We'll even pay him, which I'm sure he's not used to with Ethan. Anyway, so here's what the admin had to say. We have had discussions the last couple of weeks. We've tried to assist you, enable you, and help you and plan for the future. But I have to tell you this. You didn't even talk to Bree or Talia, who were past moderators / admins who felt uncomfortable and left. You didn't even thank them for all the work that they did. You're treating the people who work the hardest for you like trash. You treat your trash better than this. Why do you think you have permission to treat us this way? We know everything about you. You have broken trust, and this is nothing to do with legal issues. Yes, you have a hard life. We all have had a hard life, but we keep going. You said we're family. You said we're friends. You don't treat people like this. And then another admin comes in. And when I tell you, I felt a jump scare. This person came in and started yelling and was like, excuse me, you don't come in here like this. And I was like, oh my God. Are you okay? Like, they kept kicking each other off of the call. And then they were like yelling at each other. And Ethan kept trying to interrupt with the least amount of enthusiasm and energy that you can have. No, you guys, don't do that. No, don't do that, guys. No, stop that. No, don't do that, guys. Now the admin continued and said, you are the leader. You lead the group. You need to lead the group. Also, I want to address the facts. And today you didn't, but you do a lot of joking. And it's very strange to do. And you think that people are trying to joke about things. Basically what he's saying, like with the jokes, he's talking about, I assume that he is referring to whenever Ethan says anything like sexual or let's say inappropriate of that nature, he'll always come back and be like, ha, just kidding. It doesn't matter if it's a joke. It doesn't matter what you think is funny. One, it's not funny. And two, it's still can make people uncomfortable, and that's not okay. And the admin continues and says, the advice that you take is 80% from a man. He said that's at least what I saw. So he goes into saying, if you're going to listen to advice, please listen to this advice. And it really does sound like he is annoyed with Ethan because this admin and other admins have worked hard to make it feel like a safe place. And Ethan is just like making dick jokes and joking about the allegations that have been made against him. I only listen to a man. That's not even true. This is what I've seen, and this is what my problem with you was. If that's what you believe, that's on you. And then this king says, I can go into it. I can even bring examples, but I don't think you want me to do that in this group. If you're wondering why I joke, that's how I cope. Is it healthy? No. But you're not going to sit there and tell me that other people don't do it and that it's weird. That's the number one way people cope. Well, the number two. Number one is food. And you know I do that. And the admin continued and said, you wanted to have this call to have transparency. I contacted another admin after she left, and she said she wanted to talk to you before speaking to anybody else, alluding to that Ethan didn't talk to her. And he continued and said, there's a bit of a language barrier there. So I don't know where we took the wrong road. I put in a lot of effort and a lot of work to make this a safe place, a family place. We need to get to the deeper issue. It's disappointing what happened while we were working so hard. We know what they said wasn't true. We know that it's all rumors, but now your mod group, people that you say are family and friends, it's not the same anymore. I'll be the first to say it's not the same. And then some time passes on this call. Again, just like a bunch of dead air. I think what it was, and I wish we had this, but I think what it was is in the chat, people were just talking and talking and talking, going back and forth and all that. And Ethan didn't he had everyone muted. So no, you could just talk in the chat and that's it. So I think that's what was happening. And he was just like not paying attention to it or just like looking at it. I don't know. But he continues and it gets weird. Anyone a journaler? Do y'all journal? Oh yeah, you journal? I got a poop journal. Y'all know how much time I spend in the bathroom. I've been scared to write anything though. A lot of people, I'll be 100% honest. I don't know if you guys still look at the Reddit. I get sent it. I just don't do it anymore. It's horrible. I deleted the app and I'm so much happier. I just don't see a reason to check it. It has a couple hundred people in it who are active on it. Oh, would they post it on me today? People are going to say what they want to say and I can't stop that. Whatever. That's cool. Yeah. People talk so much shit. And scene. This thing, I thought this was going to be a lot cozier. It is not. Literally felt. We will be returning this to Amazon. Now let's go ahead and show the aftermath of this call and some of the conversations that happened in the Discord surrounding this. I am going to give you like a synopsis of it. And if you want to come back to the TV, come back to your phone. I know y'all like to do chores and such. So if you want to actually like pause it and like read them, you can go ahead and do that. And so this is a bit of a statement from one of the people who was on that call. And they said when he came back, he told us that he had a quote unquote health scare and had a heart attack and that he needs to eat better, blah, blah, blah. Clearly his scare didn't do anything to change what he does. We were all worried about him, always telling him what he shouldn't be eating and what he should be eating and what he should be doing. He never listened. When he stated he was in the hospital, Reddit found him at a hotel with his friends. He started going to parks again and taking pictures of where he was going and making small vlogs. He would ask the mod team where he should eat and what he should do for those vlogs. And his heart attack was a big one. I don't believe he was in the hospital or even had a heart attack, because if he did, he would have changed his lifestyle. Now let's go ahead and read what Ethan said. He said, well, if you'd like a taste what's going on in my life, I shall spit that truth. After my heart attack, I'm having trouble retaining oxygen. So now I'm on oxygen therapy, trying my damnedest to get off oxygen. You would not be walking around Disney World in the heat if you aren't able to breathe well. He's not on a scooter. He's walking around. Because I understand there are people who like maybe are on oxygen or like maybe are on a scooter or like can't walk the whole day. But to my knowledge, he's not. That's not the case. Also, he's not on oxygen, in my opinion. I've been referred to a CAS for my mental health. Pretty much every single person I know has either stopped talking to me or openly said that until people on Reddit stop talking about me, that we can't talk or be friends. I'm depressed beyond belief. My grief counselor is garbage. I had 2 people die on me that I'm very close with. The only person I looked up to as a father figure wants nothing to do with me anymore. My nerve pain is through the roof. I can't sleep well anymore. My headaches are worse than ever. I have the worst existential dread. It's probably because you're an awful person. I just want to die. And I don't know why the world won't just take me. There's only so much one person can take. In the last 2 years have been so many ups and downs and far too many downs, not to mention the constant bullying from everyone. I wake up to hundreds of messages telling me to end my life, make everyone happy and end my life. During my heart attack, I died. 2 minutes, gone. All that being said, I'm fighting and getting better, y'all. My fight isn't over yet. I may want to not be alive, but I'm not giving up quite yet. I'm on track to at least not alive tomorrow. So that's a start. So of course, when anyone feels like they should not exist anymore, that's horrible. I don't want anyone to feel that way. I want the best for everyone. I want everyone to do good, all that. You know what's coming. However, I don't believe any of that he just said. I believe that he's weaponizing things, and people in his personal life probably don't watch his content. That's typically how it is when you are a content creator. Like, yes, the closest people to you, like your family and like your close friends, typically aren't watching your content. Maybe like people on like the fringes, maybe, sure, and occasionally, but most people from your personal life, not your like colleagues who are your friends. Like I watch Sherilyn's content, you know, I know she watches mine, you know, same with Jesse and Lily from Do We Know Them? Like I watch theirs, and Angelica Oles, and you know, like the content creators I'm friends with, I will watch their content like occasionally when I do have time, and I do love their content, want to support them. But most other content creators, if there's no truth to what people on Reddit are saying, they're going to be able to sympathize with you. They know the game. They know how it is. They know what it's like to be a content creator. So I don't think he's talking about that. I think he's talking about people in his personal life maybe. And most likely people in your personal life are not wrapped up in your Reddit comments and don't care about that because it doesn't affect them at all. So again, I think that he is playing the victim and planting these seeds of not only should you not look at any of that stuff and what people say to me because it's like ruining my life, which I don't think it is, but then also giving them like every single reason to feel bad for him. And another aspect that goes into this is like, he doesn't have anyone, he doesn't have any friends, he needs you. And it does seem like he, a lot of the times, I know I said this before, but I really want to hit this home, that it really does seem like he will cater his manipulation to older women who maybe have have like grown children his age, and maybe he'll exploit that, like, I don't know, like motherly need and like that type of like, oh, he's just like, he lost his mom, like he doesn't have a mom, like he just needs someone, I want to take care of him, like stuff like that, you know? But either way, there's just like this, no one asked for that. I know the words, you know, narcissist, gaslighting, trauma dump, I know all that's overused. That right there is a trauma dump. No one asked, bud. You could have just been like, I've been sick, I'm sad, this is bothering me. Instead, you're like, I'm gonna end my life and I'm getting through it though. I wake up to hundreds of messages telling me to end my life. No, you don't, Ethan. No, you don't. No, you absolutely don't. That does not make sense. Analytics wise, statistic wise, that doesn't make sense for you to wake up to that every single day. And one thing that he did say when he was called out by moderators at the time for being in a hotel and not being in rehab or in a hospital, he said that he had to leave the hospital because he was afraid for his safety. You're in a hospital. Well, I mean, he wasn't in a hospital, but like in his lie, he was in a hospital. That doesn't make any sense. There's security checkpoints in hospital. You can't just walk into any patient room. What? But he wasn't in a hospital, obviously. Okay. I was not going to go into this aspect too deeply because I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to disrespect anyone's mom. Especially anyone's dead mom. But I think that it is an important aspect of Ethan's, not only his lies, but then also his main character syndrome that I think he has. And then also, as I said, it seems like he really does exploit the I'm an orphan, I have nobody, please be my mommy type of manipulation. So let's get into the lies regarding his mother's passing. Now, Ethan's mother, RIP, from what I have read, she seems like she was an amazing woman. Now, she got into a very serious car accident in 2021. She spent quite a long time in a rehabilitation center. And then unfortunately, she passed away in July of 2022. Now, while a lot of people do believe that it was, due to complications from the accident, and that can absolutely happen. Your body's worn down. Maybe, your immune system ain't that great after you've been trying to rebuild your body basically and your strength for a year. A year is a long time to be in a rehabilitation center, right? So there's that. Could have been infection. It could have been, I don't know, something. But a lot of people are under the impression that it was something to have to do with that serious injury that she sustained during that pretty bad car accident. However, Ethan told his moderators that his mother died of cancer. And the aspect of this that really just makes me want to, my sweaty ass palms, for legal purposes, that's a joke. I'm not gonna, Ethan, it's a joke. We're not inciting violence, but you might want to, when I say this next part, at this time of saying that his mother actually passed away from cancer, 2 of Ethan's moderators at that time were fighting cancer. Like not being an advocate against it, not raising money for it, like active treatment plan for cancer. And I am of this belief, but many people do believe that Ethan back then used and continues to use his mother's passing, very unfortunate passing, for financial gain and a way for him to manipulate others. Ethan frequently disappears when something comes out, an allegation or whenever really anything is brought to the public. One time he disappeared, and when he came back, he said that the reason for his absence, and really blamed his disappearance, like he got kidnapped. He blamed it on his mother's death, and he said that he finally faced it, which is interesting timing for sure. So after that time, he came back to streaming, and that's when a lot of his moderators were like, this is strange behavior. So that was one of the red flags that a lot of them actually did see and started to question. Some of his moderators told us he was not keeping with his story. He told us that his mom died of cancer. Then all of a sudden, it was something that he had symptoms of too. Then it was a genetic disorder. Later, we found out that she had actually died due to the aftermath and injuries of a car accident. So are you keeping track? Ethan, who he claims died of cancer, actually passed away allegedly from the aftermath of the injuries that she sustained during again, from what I was able to gather, a pretty horrific car accident. And his dad, according to him, passed away. We don't have details of how he passed away, but Ethan says that he did, or has said previously that he did. However, on Facebook, his dad is apparently a ghost posting on Facebook because I got questions. His dad is alive and on Facebook. So, The Elizabeth Teckenbrock of it all, I tell ya, it's crazy. Now, one of my personal favorite lies is the giveaway lies. Y'all know, most of you know, if you have been here for a while, I'm not a fan of giveaways. Like, don't get me wrong. Like for instance, the other day, y'all thought I got hacked, but I was like on my YouTube community tab, I was like, go comment on something funny on my TikTok. So I was did not work, but trying to get, more engagement on one of my posts about the Elizabeth podcast, which you should listen to. And I was like, the funniest comment, I'll DM you and like Venmo you or PayPal you $50 or $20. I don't even remember how much it was, but I did do it. I sent it. I'll put a screenshot right here. The person was really funny. They're like, oh my God, it is you. I had to do a double take. It was really funny though. And their comment was hilarious. But a lot of you were like, oh, you got hacked. Oh no. Hilarious. But like, obviously that's different because it's like, I don't have to go buy anything. I don't have to ship anything. It's just like, hey, comment on this. And like, that's to my followers, With giveaways, I personally don't really like them for the reason that like, if the stipulation is like, okay, you have to follow, you have to like, you have to do this, but it's the people that come to follow you just for that. Most of them are going to leave after they don't win the giveaway. So it's like, what's the point? I personally don't like them. I did them occasionally back in the day, but I don't know. It's just, I'm not a fan. It'd be different if I was doing one for like my channel members or something, but I don't know. Maybe I'll do one for my channel members at like 200,000. That's different though. Like they're already there. Also though, pretty sure you can't do that because you have to pay to be a channel member. And then that would be an illegal sweepstakes because it has to be no purchase necessary. So no, never mind. I can't do that. However, that's an interesting part of this though too. For Christmas in 2023, he did a Toys for Tots fundraiser. He went shopping with the live and had 6 carts full of toys. The mods forced him to keep the live on at the register. He said he was going to buy everything, but then when he got there, his phone died and he came back online when he was in the car and it did look stuffed with toys, but not as much that was in the cart. And one of the ex-moderators that had come forward actually said, when we told him to keep the live on and drive to the Disney hotel where the box was, he did not want to. He said he was tired. He went back offline and a few hours later, he came back online and dropped them off on the live. Again, his phone died. And then he came back online when he had just put everything in the box. People asked if the box was empty when he came, as it did not seem that everything was in there. He talked around it and ended the live again. And then they sent screenshots of the box and said, this is not 6 cart full of toys. The same person who reached out to us said that for his giveaways, he would buy 1 pen or 2 sets of ears and keep pulling out the same item for every single giveaway. When asking him when he would get others, he would always say, I'll do that later so I don't have to carry it. And often the items that he was showing were out of stock. So therefore, if they're out of stock, he can't just go back and buy more. As you can see a trend here, Ethan is always the victim. He's allegedly been a victim of stalking. He's also claimed, like we have already covered, that he receives death threats every single day. Sometimes he wakes up to 100 of them. He says that he is a victim of cruel and hurtful accusations. And he says he's a victim of losing subscribers and gifters. Yikes. Now let's talk about playing the victim and potentially lying about being robbed so that you can ask your moderators for money. Ethan claims that he was robbed. And after announcing this to his mod chat, he then asked his American mods to send him Apple Cash or Apple Pay, something like that, with the promise of paying him back. Ethan says, guess what, y'all? And tags everyone, which notifies everyone within that chat. I got robbed. I hate this country. And of course, his mods are absolutely flabbergasted. He says that he's physically okay, mentally not okay. He said they took his wallet and phone. And Ethan says, if any Americans can possibly Apple Cash me whatever you can, I'll pay you back on Wednesday. I'm actually freaking out. I'll throw in an extra $5. Then he says that he's going to switch banks. His bank is incompetent, and he's pretty sure that they are not even licensed to be a real bank. He called the bank because the person who robbed him got the debit card. And he was like, hi, I just got robbed. And they were like, okay. And he's like, I need to cancel my card. And they were like, we can get you a new account. And he's like, no, I want another card. And they said account. And he said card. And they said, you want a new account? And then Ethan continues to say that the person who robbed him put a gun to him and told him to give him everything. So that seems like something that he would have said before instead of like well into asking for money, right? No, I don't know. Now, through all of this self-proclaimed victimization, controversies, literally being caught in lies multiple times, Ethan has still been able to maintain. Yes, some people have left and like seen the light and called him out, but not that many at all. He's still been able to maintain a very tight-knit community of people who essentially worship him, despite him taking zero accountability for things that he does and continues to do. Now, back to the cultiness of it all, we had already established that a cult has three main characteristics per psychiatrist Robert J. Lifton. And he said that the first one is that charismatic leader who increasingly becomes the subject of the worship instead of like the beliefs themselves. And now let's move on to the second characteristic of destructive cults. A process of indoctrination or education is in use. A process of coercive persuasion or thought reform, also commonly known as brainwashing. The culmination of this process can be seen by members of the group often doing things that are not in their own best interest, but consistently in the best interest of the leader themselves. Now, like I said, even though Ethan has been able to maintain a pretty tight-knit little community of people who are, in my opinion, conditioned to just believe whatever lies he tells them, there are some ex-moderators, ex-community members, people who, have sent him money, worked closely with them, things like that, who have spoken out. And we have talked to them and they have given us permission to share their stories with you today. Some of their statements and screenshots have been edited just a little bit to maintain their privacy, but let's go ahead and read off some of these statements from ex-moderators. Ethan shared loads with us, and it seemed like a friend group chat that was always active as the mods were around the world. I do need to add that all of his mods were fragile people. 99% of them were sick at home with severe illnesses, so the streams were a window to the outside world. His closer mods, better known as top gifters, would arrange everything for Ethan when he traveled to stream at different Disney parks. From the Airbnb reservations to park tickets, most, if not everything, is handled behind the scenes for him. Ethan also relied on his admin team and mods to clean up his messes, including asking for advice on how to repair or money to replace broken appliances and damage to Airbnbs, which Ethan caused while throwing massive adult-sized tantrums. So my experience is sort of selfish. I should have left earlier than I did. I was his mod when he left California and went to Japan and Paris and stayed until he disappeared with a promise of an explanation of where he went and why. My husband and I had been trying to get pregnant for a while. During this time, I was a moderator for Ethan. I finally got pregnant. A short time after, I found out that I had an ectopic pregnancy and that I needed to have surgery to remove it. It was heartbreaking for me and it really crushed me. I talked to Ethan about it briefly. He was supposedly my friend, which is why I confided in him. And it was my first pregnancy and loss. He called a mod meeting finally after scheduling it a few times, and he basically said that he was not our friend and that we have a parasocial relationship with him and we don't really know him. I lost it and told him to fuck off, and I don't know why I covered for him and all that jazz. I left, I quit, I left Discord, and I unfollowed him. It was unbelievable. Obviously, to all of the ex-mods that have spoken out against him or even shared, even if it's not publicly, and even the ones who just shared their stories privately with us, I'm so sorry that you were treated like that. You should not have been, obviously. I don't know how anyone could treat their moderators like that. I love my moderators so much. They're great. Those are my internet friends, all right? They're awesome. So immensely helpful. Like, they are great. It's just so entitled and gross that he would treat people like that. But then also to that last one too. Hey girl, I'm so sorry that you went through that. That's really tough. That was obviously a time that you needed support and a friend, and he did not give you that. And he's a gross piece of shit. You deserve a lot better, and he does not deserve you. He deserves way worse. He deserves me making videos about him. Ethan has also been accused of using people until they are of no use to them and then just throwing them away. So let's go ahead and go over quite a bit of examples of this from people. A former friend has a priority card at Disney. To get this pass, you need to have government proof of a severe disability. Ethan tried to get it, including crying about it at City Hall and trying to bribe them. He even asked me to falsify proof so that he could get it. With the priority card, I had skip the line and special viewing areas for shows. As soon as I stepped foot in the park, he would contact me nonstop where I was and if I could get him in one of those areas. First, I was fine with it, but then he forced me to not stream as we would have the same view and that would be bad for his stream. And then when I was with friends, I could not bring him as you can only do +2. And I am absolutely not going to leave my caregiver or my friends out. He got extremely mad every single time that would happen, blaming me for not being able to eat or pay for his Airbnb because he couldn't stream. He started to get more and more aggressive to his mods, forcing them to do things that did not feel okay. And when the mods spoke up, his standard answer would be, it was just a a joke. You don't get my American humor. A few mods left at that moment and said that they did not feel safe. During that time, he also started his admin team. Telling Europeans that they don't understand your American humor? What do you mean? That makes no sense at all. Where are my Brits at? Get him, guys. Robert, I know you're watching this video. I know you hate this guy. Get him. Get him, Robert. He doesn't get our dry humor. He doesn't get the joke. He thinks we don't get the joke. Not me sicking my favorite Brit on this guy. Anyways, we've all been used in whatever game he's playing, and once you are no longer of use to him or speak your mind, you are done. He is very selfish, money hungry man who lures people into the E-fam under the false premise that you are a friend. He'd call all of us family, but we only had value to him as friend or family if we send a big gift or a donation. A lot of people from his mod group left because he is dishonest and unkind. It is very upsetting for me because I thought he was my friend, but unfortunately, I am just an income. That's really sad. When he decided to start streaming again, he was definitely changing. I could see it because he was treating the EU mods and his admin team worse and worse. He was treating some of the US mods like that too. But then my life got in the way. I had health issues, which he's known about, which kept me away from the chat and streams. Then I would pop into streams and he stopped acknowledging me, but would notice everyone else. Something shifted in my absence, and he was more grifter than streamer. He added all these new mods, which I had no idea he was doing, and the OG mods were not so happy about it. He created his army of yes people and didn't listen to the OG mods. I ended up leaving the server just to see if he would notice. He did not. A couple of mods reached out to me to see what was wrong and why I left. They mentioned that they brought up me leaving to him, and he said something like, oh yeah, she decided to leave. And then he never reached out to me to see how I was or why I left. And ever since I left and got to vent out my feelings to some mods that are also pissed off, I see now that the ones who came forward really were telling the truth. And the more he streams and becomes this money hungry person who whines about the fact that his health is bad and he's on meds, which I don't believe that he is because my husband is on Mounjaro and multiple insulins, and if he ate like Ethan, he would be sick for days. The more I am glad that I left. And another one here says, I followed Ethan for a long time before I got more involved. I was an avid gifter and loved the vibes Ethan gave. When he disappeared last year was when I really got more involved. I was a big advocate for people staying and giving support, for being patient with him and holding out for him to come back. I was made a mod when he came back, and for quite some time, things were great. The family that was built was lovely, and everyone supported one another. But something seemed to change. Ethan stopped listening to the advice of his mods. He was dismissive with his health and solely concerned with gifts and subs. His attitude changed toward those who were trying to support him. There was also a noticeable drop in the quality of his streams. This then impacted the giveaways and other interactions. This was brought up on many occasions and dismissed. His attitude towards the EU mods especially began to deteriorate. New mods were brought in and quickly jumped at his every whim. EU mods were asked to leave until he was going back to Paris, where they would be needed. Some were left, but his attitude got worse. Promises broken. His attitude changed. I decided it was time to leave on my own accord. He wasn't bothered. Now, when Ethan is called out, he doesn't discuss it, even though in those previous Discord chats, when, they bring up that someone, an ex-mod called him out, he says, I really wish they would just talk to me about it instead. I wish they'd be open to talking to me about it. But then when people do come to him and talk to him about it, or try to, he doesn't respond. Instead, he cuts people off, blocks them, and pretends like they never existed. Now, this person wants to remain anonymous, but they did give permission to use these screenshots and for us to share their story. And this is actually the same person who was the last statement that we actually just read. But they added onto it and they said, a quick message to say he's been told I was going and that was it. We have all been used in whatever game he's playing, and once you are no longer a use to him or you speak your mind, you're done. In regards to what he has been doing to others, I am in no doubt it's been and continues to happen. He would mention it briefly in the mod chat. People are just trying to pull down what he's built, jealousy, and it's all made up. He'd mention a few names to watch for in the chats and wouldn't talk about it anymore unless another Reddit post popped up. He's had issues with a former friend trying to get their belongings back from storage in the EU, but that was all the other person's fault, and now people see through his BS. And they finished that off by saying, there are a lot of things over my time as being a mod that I look back on now and I know I should have paid more attention to. And unfortunately, I just wanted to belong to a warm and welcoming community. That's where he's dangerous and reels you in. And what he does to some is just horrendous. And so here are the messages from this ex-mod. And they said, just a few things I'm going to get off my chest. I think the way you've been treating people is awful. The way you've treated the EU mods after all they have done for you is a kick in the teeth. I've also been sent messages you have sent to women that are quite honestly downright stomach churning. I honestly feel like I've had the wool pulled over my eyes and have been lied to by you. I'm so disappointed in you and who you've become. You have changed to the point that I don't recognize you anymore. I'm not sure you even know what honesty is at this point. I could ask you all sorts of questions and confront you on so many things, but what's the point? All I will say is watch yourself with your new shiny mods, as they won't be nearly as loyal as we were. And then they continued and said, you say that the E-Fam is a family. All they are to you is subs and gifters. You don't treat family the way that you've treated people. You've proved that by now, how replaceable people are. You don't listen to people who genuinely care for you, the people who are concerned for your health. I'm wondering just how much of that is genuine health issues, since you don't seem to want to make the changes needed to help yourself. Weight loss drugs, and yet you're still out here eating how you are. You do not help yourself in any situation, then play the victim. It's such controlling manipulation. You need to man up and just know it's made very, very, very clear that there are a lot of people who can see right through you. Your routines are there for all to see. You go off grid, something's gone wrong. The gifts pour in for support, rinse and repeat. I love a good con artist cycle, you know, so predictable. It's wild. I am heartbroken that I defended you the way that I did and I supported you. And knowing that you just didn't care, I hope you learned something from losing the people that you have lost, and don't be surprised when you lose more. Remember, this is your doing and your choices. And then they sent a link to a YouTube video. I don't know what video it is though. I don't think it's mine. I don't know. Anyways, he left that person on scene. So we have gone through the 2 out of the 3 characteristics that Robert J. Lifton identifies from destructive cults. And that's the charismatic cult leader, where, you know, it becomes less about the beliefs and more about them. And then the indoctrination and people putting that person before themselves. And then the third one, economic, sexual, or other exploitation of group members by the leader. And obviously this can be labor violations, child abuse, medical neglect, extreme cases. There's violence or mass schmooicide. And then in some groups that have been seen as cults historically, they evolved to become generally regarded as religion. But just some examples here. There's no legitimate reason to leave. Former followers are always in the wrong for leaving, negative or even evil, or, you know, haters, or a loser with a broke mindset. Former members often have the same story of abuse and reflect a similar pattern of grievances. There are records, books, news articles, broadcasts, documentation, all that. This one's really important, is followers feel they can never be good enough. The leader is always right, and the leader is the exclusive means of knowing the truth or receiving validation. No other process of discovery is really acceptable or credible. And that really comes into the thought control and the information control that we discussed before. Again, we have another victim coming forward and they want to remain anonymous, but we have a recording. Again, I'm not going to do a dramatic reenactment, but Kelly was nice enough to summarize it in a way that is legal and ethical for us to repeat it, but to where it's, you know, we're not going to get in trouble for that. All while still protecting the person's identity. Let's go over this statement. Now it says, when I refused to help Ethan out at one of the Disney parks, he turned on me, and I believe he reported my lives and sent bot attacks to my live stream. He admitted to me in the past that he had done this to another streamer. When I asked him if he reported my live stream and if he sent bots to take my stream down, Ethan forced me to sit down with him to discuss everything in person. I asked him if he reported my live stream and if he'd sent bots to take down my stream. He gaslit me repeatedly, denied everything, and said he'd never do that to me because we're friends. Our conversation went in circles. Then they continued and said, while speaking to him face to face, I told him his behavior had changed. The conversation took over an hour in the freezing cold. I told him that I would give him the benefit of the doubt and that I was glad we talked it out. He hugged me and we went our separate ways, and I went home from that trip. The Monday after, there was an emergency mod call. It was split into 2 groups, EU and US mods, and everyone was force muted as Ethan needed to talk. He talked about someone backstabbing him, ruining his life, and being a fake friend, and trying to take him down with lies. Of course, everyone was shocked, and when we were allowed to talk, I told everyone that I knew he was talking about me and how the story really went. Ethan interrupted me and accused me of lying and proceeded to say that I was faking my disabilities and therefore I lie about everything. At that moment, I told Ethan to stop and that I was done with him and I did not want to have my name associated with him any longer. number. I left the call, blocked him everywhere, and wrote a goodbye message in the mod Discord. I added the message to the mod channel and the general chat. Both got deleted after 1 minute. During that mod call, all of the mods got angry with him, telling him that this is not who I am and they don't believe what Ethan was saying about me. They got force muted and banned from chatting in that call. He wrapped it up and started his US call. In the US call, he was so vague that the US mods never understood what even happened and why so many EU mods left that day. After that, every live I did had a bot attack and a mass report. In the Discord, he actively spoke out that he hated me and wanted me dead and that nobody was allowed to talk to me. Some mods spoke up against that and they got removed. A few weeks later, myself and a few mods were in Disneyland Paris again. Ethan found out that we were all in Disneyland Paris and sent them all a message that they were banned due to being in Disneyland Paris when I was there too. With a few of them, I did not even meet up, but after that action, we took a lovely group picture and posted it online. He would call me whenever he felt like it, even at 4 a.m. He would always start with, "Is your husband next to you?" Which of course he is. It's 4 a.m. and we're in bed. He tried to get a visa for Paris. He asked me if I could divorce him just for a bit and marry him for a visa, which I saw back then as a joke, but he would ask this multiple times and was always very pushy to me without my husband. The biggest issue I had with him was a friendship changing into being used. We needed to be there 24/7 for him and all he wanted was money and access to my priority card. Being a mod for Ethan was exhausting. He's like a giant child. He wouldn't eat or he'd eat horribly. He wouldn't go to sleep at a decent time and wake up way past the time he said he was going to be streaming. Often he would just be dead asleep to the world, and we as the mods would be worried to death because there was no communication coming from him. Then he would wake up and say good morning in the mod chat like nothing ever happened. He would laugh off important conversations. He would never tell the mods his thoughts or plans, but then tell everyone on stream before even talking anything over with the mods. He would often share too much information on stream or Discord about his Airbnb location or his flight or where he was. He always promised mod packs for the mods, but would take forever to send them or never send them at all. He would always ask who he had for the stream because often he would be lost without a mod in the chat. From our viewpoint, he would overextend and promise too much. One time he was streaming from the airport for his trip to Alani and he was falling asleep on stream because he was so tired. Mod calls would often lead to nothing because he would derail them into chaos and no actual work would get done. EU mods were getting frustrated and one of the admins wanted to air it out on a mod call. It ended up with a fight with another admin and people screaming at each other to protect Ethan. And then they left the Discord and the mod team. Many mods and admins have left because Ethan asks for help or uses you and abuses you and then goes another direction. We help and give options and our opinions, but he doesn't care or take it into account. He says that the mod team is like a family, but he doesn't actually care. Everything is pretty much a blur at this point because the long stupid mod calls and just how he treats everyone. He was pinning the EU mods against the US mods and he couldn't trust the EU mods. Some of his moderators have even reached out to him and told him that they, felt uncomfortable or uneasy about his predatory language, but typically Ethan would just brush it off and say that he was just joking and he's just a boy. You're like 34. What are you talking about? Hi, it's the next day. This video took way too long to film and I'm back and it's the next day. Anyways, so like I was saying, Ethan multiple times now has had a habit of throwing adult-sized tantrums regarding who God knows what, and then there's damage done to Airbnbs that he'll stay in. But then that leads me to question, are you sober when these tantrums happen? Are they alcohol-induced? And that has actually been another claim that people have made, an allegation surrounding Ethan Morris is alcohol abuse. I don't want to say alcoholism because I don't know, but alcohol abuse is an allegation as well. Now, this is a statement from one of his previous moderators, and they said he was getting very secretive to his mods where he was and what he was doing. More and more incidents happened in his Airbnb with stuff that broke, loads of alcohol abuse and him ghosting the moderators, more and more asking for money as he had credit card issues that were not working in Europe or back home, fraudulent activities and therefore blocked. Now, I know that, traveling, there can be some issues with cards. I mean, even when I went to Denver last month for CrimeCon, my Bank of America card, it was so annoying. They let it process 4 times because whoever was charging it, the car rental place or the, whatever other accommodations, the hotel, they charged it twice. And then it was continuing to try, but then it showed processing, but they were oh, Chelsea's not from Denver. And it was just so annoying. And then I get a text and whatever, but then it was okay, well, now this quadruple charge is pending or processing or whatever. And now it's okay, now I have $3. What the So I understand that, but that seems like it would be a one-off. Like you would think that you would have a card or something that your financial institution would be aware that you are traveling if you are someone who is traveling a lot. That's just a no-brainer. Like in most of these apps, like I know in my Chase app, you can put in there like, I wanted to let you know I'm going to be traveling, or, you know, something like that. Like you can even do that with Bank of America. Like you can do that with most financial institutions. Just be like, I am going to be traveling at this time, at this place, so that you know, like what I'm doing is not fraudulent. And that way I don't have any hiccups. Completely normal. Again, like I said, you would think that someone that travels a lot would do that. He might not, because he does seem like a severe man-child and weaponized incompetence type of vibe, but who knows? Another thing that I do want to mention, and we can put a label on it or we can not. A lot of people call it grooming, but then I want to call it repeated unwelcome advances. And then even in conversations that start out consensual, knowingly pushing those boundaries and making people uncomfortable. That's very long-winded, but just to set the stage. Now, another person said when he was with a cruise in Amsterdam, he tried to push one of my followers into coming into his hotel and having sex with him. She was just freshly 18 at that moment. He disappeared from his mods and stream for months after that. The internet truly is, I mean, as I have called it for a while now, a chaos machine in itself, but it's truly wild that a lot of influencers don't understand that the more you grow and this aspect of being as presenting yourself as a public figure, you lose a good amount of privacy. And you would think that someone who is putting themselves forward, not only like in a like filming studio situation where like no one else is around, but like very public facing in public places where you are recognizable to the people who are there, right? You would think that you would be even more careful, and obviously like just not be a person to begin with, but you would think that you would be even more careful with what you're putting out there and, you know, not send unsolicited dick pics or try to have sex with everyone. Now, again, what is said in consensual conversations, okay, I don't care. And also when I say consensual, I mean, everyone is an adult. And also it's important that there isn't like that power dynamic there as well. But either way, it is a consensual situation. Like get your freak on, go for it, whatever. But I do really feel like I just get the vibe from Ethan that he's just a perpetually horny man-child that weaponizes his incompetence and evades accountability by playing the victim constantly. Yeah, I feel like that's a very good way to describe him, actually. And here are a few other statements that really just highlights ickiness. At New Year's Eve, he had realized too late that he had no reservation for the park. He tried to force me and another mod, very young girl, to fake that he was our husband to still get him in. We both declined since we didn't want to get into trouble with Disney. He got extremely mad, but later on told everyone that it was fixed. No one saw him at New Year's, and he told the mods that he couldn't stream and that he was stuck in the crowds and had a panic attack and had to walk home, and he didn't want to drive home. He had 0 pictures of the evening, and he said that he never wanted to talk about it again. So we all had the feeling that he just didn't show up and never got it fixed. When the renovated Disneyland hotel opened, he did not have any money to stay there for opening night. He reached out to every Disney influencer and Disney several times to see if he could spend the night with him, and nobody wanted to. Then he tried to force one of the French moderators to take out a loan so that she could pay for the hotel room and he could sleep with her and he would pay her back with free merch. Many of the mods lost it at that point and spoke up, but he brushed it off and said, guys, I'm just joking. That right there is unsolicited prostitution, but like the reverse. You are trying to get them to prostitute to you. That's prostitution. So, you know, but like trying to get someone to do it to you. Either way, that's illegal. That's not a thing. And it does seem like a lot of, because we're hearing a lot from, you know, ex-moderators and stuff like that. We are hearing here that, you know, these moderators are doing a lot for him, or he feels comfortable enough asking them to pay for things or do things for him and go out of their way when it doesn't benefit them at all. But also it really does seem like a lot of these people are people within the Disney content community and even smaller creators themselves. So even still, there is, even if they aren't a creator, even if they are, you know, an anonymous person, or if they are a smaller creator, there is that type of push and pull and power dynamic there, which is not okay. That in itself is exploitative and predatory. And here is a continuation of that same statement regarding that specific situation. About 6 months later, I found out that he was serious and he wasn't joking, and she felt very unsafe and uncomfortable, and therefore she went quiet in the Discord and even went to therapy. He did not talk to any of the mods about it, but after this, all of a sudden showed up at the Disneyland Hotel on opening night. He was on the stream of a British streamer that he had seen in the bar, and he sat down with her. She had left her hotel room key on the table and was drinking a bit too much champagne. So at one point, he grabbed her phone to show her that he saw a few of his mods in her live, and he added them as moderators on her page. That seems weird. Don't like that. And then when he gave her the phone back, the hotel key was not on the table anymore. Right after that, she felt a little spooked and paid for her drink and left him there and also paid for his drink. So after realizing that her hotel key was missing, she went to reception to get another one and to have them like deactivate the old one. And she was really just too scared to sleep in her own room that night because of him. So she ended up staying in the room of one of her friends instead. Now we can say, Chelsea, that's just anecdotal evidence, whatever. And yeah, sure. Absolutely. It is. That's just someone's recollection of what happened and a vibe overall, right? But I think that all of this together is enough for at least me to form an opinion that this guy's gross and gives off vibes many of the times, it seems like, from what we're hearing, that women don't feel safe around him. Now, this next one, this person does want to stay anonymous, as they are also a content creator and pretty big in this space. The messages that we're about to read through are disturbing. And like I said before, the point I made is that whatever happens in consensual conversations, I don't care. But this person also said later, like looking back on it, like this was weird. The dynamic there was very strange. And that's completely okay. And they did share and say, our conversations were consensual. He said a lot of nasty stuff. Once I found out about people coming forward, I was super grossed out and stopped flirting. He claimed none of it was true and proceeded to solicit for pictures and favors. This person also shared, he's consistent with trying to take, but doesn't give in return. And this was their last conversation. He attempted to follow up, asking her again, but she didn't reply and it fizzled out. And Ethan didn't try after that. Also keep in mind, this conversation happens pretty much right after his totally real heart attack, where he died for a couple minutes and definitely wasn't at Disney that day or just at the Ramada Inn. So this person said, I'm about an hour from Anaheim with no traffic. I have a house. And he said, well, it looks like I'm blanking in that blank then. I'm going to have to censor my wording and we will have to block out like a letter or two of some of these words. But if you would like to get the full picture of what I am censoring, look at the screen, girly pop. And he said, not a fan of pulling out. He's definitely talking about parking spaces and not booty holes. And she said, we'll see if you finally walk the talk. And he said, can I get consent on that bad boy? And this person said, seems like you need a lot of that these days. Bad joke? Too soon? Sorry, I couldn't help it. Which, slay queen, love that. And he said, getting redacted on for that one. Gross. I shouldn't say gross because if I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, if you're into whatever, and again, everyone is consenting and you're not a perpetual horny creep, then okay. But it's Ethan, so anything he says is gross. He could say the most vanilla shit and I'd be like, that's disgusting, you heathen. He said, I was kind of hoping you'd help me blank a blank, laughing my ass off. And they said, oh yeah, what would I get out of it? And he said, well, currently you get a ride in a very sexy vehicle, which he sent a picture. I don't know what it was. Was it a car? Who knows? And they said, laughing my ass off, so nothing. And they said, wellness check. He said, I'm alive-ish. He said, thank you for proof of life. Where are you these days? He said, Florida. I had a heart attack. He said, wait, for real? Back in May. I'm all good though. What the fuck? That's wild. I'm so sorry you went through that. It's all good. I'm alive. And then we move over to text, which that's even worse. And he said, I was gonna ask to blank. I'm dead. I'm a lovable drunk, not a horny one. And they said, ha. And he said, actually. He said, well, next time send me an invite to drink, not blank, ellipses. And laughing my ass off. He said, champagne drunk, I get aroused. He said, noted. I just love the lack of reciprocation. It's beautiful. And I wouldn't expect him to pick up on it. He said, come on now, redacted. You wouldn't accept my open invitation to blank. Come on now. And he said, I'm so hungover. I have a pounding headache. The only thing that would cure it is to, oh my God. Bleh. When I tell you, there is nothing grosser. There probably is something grosser, but there's really just nothing more revolting than a perpetually horny man-child. Again, Ethan gives me the vibe of someone that I know I've made this joke way too many times on my channel lately, but someone who's like, oh, do you like that? And you're like, that's my thigh. That's not anything. That's my thigh. So no, I don't like that. Actually. Okay, so the only thing that would cure it is to realize the pressure, go back to school, and pound something else. Ugh. Ha ha ha. I make good jokes. I'm a comedian at heart. Where's the punchline, buddy? Because that's not funny. And she said, well, as a woman, I don't chase, but I will plant a seed and nurture it. So I'll leave the ball in your court. And then before this person cut off Ethan, they agreed to meet up multiple times. And then he stood her up, which there have been allegations of him swapping consensual. Some of them have not been, but in this instance, I'm going to say consensual adult photos of, body parts. And there have been so many people who were like, that's not him. So he's just like sending a picture of someone else's wang. The vibe I've gotten from like all these text conversations and everything, it's just like very one-sided and awkward and self-serving and just like seeing women as just an object to get you off. Then he stands people up and like doesn't reciprocate and all that. So incel vibes for sure. So he said, be a good girl for daddy. I'm going to vomit. Who do you belong to? And she said, no one. And he said, we shall see. And she said, time will tell. I love this girl. And he said, I'm very tempted to send a Richard picture because I want you to F up your meeting. Then again, you have to beg me for that. I want to see those itties. Baby girl, I'll send you a little something. How do I send with invisible ink? And then this is an example of them feeling like they were being pressured. And he said, got it. I'm going to make you pass out. And during the time you pass out, you're going to do something. Do you understand? Hey, bud, if someone's asleep, that's not consensual. Now you're going to be a good blank, 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 and going to show me your itties because you live to serve me. Understand? I didn't say talk. I said to show me. I did not ask you to speak. And they sent a zipped mouth emoji. And he said, so now do as I say. And they said, maybe after training with a winky face. And he said, you will show me now, and you will thank me for wanting to see them, understand? And she said, no comprende. You're an icon. You're a legend. I love you. That's so beautiful. I would have just continued to respond in Spanish and been like, yo no sé, no me gusta, no bueno, no comprende. It's just, that's my favorite. Oh, that's the best. He said, maybe I need to come over now and make you comprehend. I really wish he would have said comprende, missed opportunity. And she said, maybe. He said, I can't lie. I really want to blank in you. This man is an absolute boy. He's not a man, is absolutely a menace and he's disgusting. Anyways, but again, the person who shared these and participated in this conversation, they did say that they were a consensual participant in the conversation with Ethan, but they also did say like the conversations went from like flirty and like silly and playful to like graphic and him demanding to seeing them titties and that they felt very pressured. So listen, even if you are a consensual adult in a situation, if the conversation or situation takes a turn to something that you did not consent to, revoked, babe. Revoke it, exit, stage left, goodbye. Jump off the stage. John Wilkes Booth this, you know?
From early on, Ethan made me uncomfortable. He often blurred boundaries. Before the 30th anniversary finale trip, he asked if he could share a hotel room with me and 2 other women. Even joking, he'd sleep in the bathtub. In the parks, he pressured me into letting him access disability areas while live streaming. He later walked me back to my hotel around midnight. I was grateful to be on live on TikTok because I felt uneasy as a woman alone with a man who wasn't respecting my comfort. Viewers have since even commented afterwards that I looked like I couldn't get away. Before the Disneyland Hotel reopened, he offered me money and insinuated other things if I would give him access to my reservations. That was a breaking point for me. I began distancing myself and soon discovered I wasn't alone. Other women had been manipulated in similar ways. My husband, who rarely gets involved in this world, was very clear with me. Don't let yourself be alone with him. That spoke volumes. With Chelsea Suarez's video and others now coming forward, I feel it's important to add my voice. I did not feel safe around Ethan. I don't condone his behaviour, and I stand with anyone else who was pressured, manipulated, or harmed by him.
So now we're going to hear from someone who has made sexual assault and rape allegations against Ethan.
To start my audio, I would like to say that I used to be friends with Ethan. January 2024, the DLH, which is the Disneyland Hotel in Paris, the new flamboyant 4-star hotel, whatever, hotel in Paris, was opening. It was like the grand opening. It was like in the middle of January, or so. He texted me on Instagram. He was like, "Hey, would you like to come with me at the grand opening of this new hotel? Maybe, like, depends on the price." And he started to be really, really, really persistent on it. He was like, "Please come, it'll be super nice. Plus, the room is only 1K, so we can split it in half. So 500 per person. It's totally doable. It's perfect and all." And I told him, I was like, "I'm so sorry. Like, this is a lot of money." And he was like, "Yeah, you'll have like probably like gifts, like as like the first who will arrive. We should like," what he said, the dropping, cord dropping, I think that's the name. I'm not exactly sure, like the first arrive, first come stuff. So he's like, "We can do that, so we can have the first stuff." He was like, "Please do come, like flip a coin, He like literally mentioned flipping a coin to me like 3 or 4 times, just so I accept to pay 500 euros to be in a room with him. And like, we can do this, we can do that, and like, of course we will like film some footage so you can help me with that. So I was the person who was gonna be in charge of filming him and do everything. So I'll pay for dinner, like this really fancy restaurant that will like is costing like 100 euros per person. I'll pay for that for you to thank you for your service. And I'm like, uh-huh. Also, another thing, he said about the 500 euros in one of the screenshots, he said, "Get a loan, like this is fine, like you can like give me back the money later on." And I was like, this is still like 500 euros for a room. This is still a lot of money, and I'll like I cannot have a debt of 500 euros to someone. This is way too much. I started to explain the situations to my friends, and they made me realize of the situation. He weights like 5 times my weight or something. Like, he's way bigger than me. I'm really small, not like, I mean, I'm 5'2". I am a little tiny human, okay? I am 5'2" or 5'1", something like that. I don't know. And if he wanted to do anything with me without my consent, he could have. I stopped answering his messages. And yeah, I felt really bad, and I got triggers coming back. Like, I just got triggered from past traumas, and I started to feel really, really bad. And then I learned some stuff about him, allegedly. I mean, allegedly, there's literally proof, but whatever. Like, raping people. So yeah, thank goodness I wasn't left alone in a room at night in a hotel with him. Thank God.
Okay, now we have a statement from another person who has rape allegations against him. And we, like I said at the beginning of this, we have altered the story just a little bit to make sure that we can keep this person as anonymous as possible for their own privacy and safety. And again, this is all anecdotal. We are not stating this is a fact. This is an allegation that this person is making against someone else. So keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and read their statement. I met this person a few years ago when I was still a teenager. I was working at the time, and they struck up a conversation with me during my shift. They asked me to connect with them online, and I eventually did because we had a friendly exchange. They repeatedly pressured me to go on a date with them, and I finally agreed just to get them to stop asking. During our time together, they insisted on using my employee discounts and became upset whenever I would decline. At dinner, they made me pay, giving an excuse about their card not working. Later, when walking me to my car, they suddenly forced themselves on me physically in a public area. After that, they continued to send me unwanted messages. A few weeks later, I ran into them at a party, and that night, while I was under the influence, they took advantage of me. This is something I deeply regret. The harassment did not stop. They showed up uninvited when I was spending time with friends, followed us around, and even tried to pressure me into situations that made me feel extremely uncomfortable. Eventually, I did cut off contact. But before doing so, they threatened me, saying that they could get me in trouble at work because of a minor favor I had done for them. Months later, I learned from others that they had lied about many things, taken advantage of multiple people, and engaged in similar harmful behavior. Some people reported their harassment, and they were even banned from certain places. Now, years later, I feel some peace knowing that others have seen through them, but I still hate that they continue to hurt people. For me, this marks the end of a very painful chapter of my life. Horrible. And then this statement is from another ex-moderator. I found out that he had raped a girl in California and that she outed him on Instagram. She is on Reddit in the Disney influencers group. And I asked for her to reach out to you. Fast forward, all the allegations against them have disappeared. Probably the least stressful time as a moderator, but also very stressful. He would say, "You guys think I would do that?" Or, "Of course I didn't do that." And when we would press if he's contacted police or anything, like he said that he had a lawyer and that he's not allowed to say anything, he stated that no one has gone to the police about anything. He told us that he knows what the truth is. When we would bring it up, wanting to defend him on Reddit, he said not to write anything or say anything. Yes, that creates traction for the post, but wouldn't you want your moderator team and people who love you to defend you? Maybe he was afraid someone would message us with proof. Now, some people have said that victims have gone to the police. We don't have any proof of this, just secondhand accounts of that. And I find that super telling that he's discouraging people from engaging with that. And again, yes, I mean, that does boost that post and all that. But I mean, personally, I know that like, goddamn, I would love for someone to stick up for me on Reddit, but that just seems silly. And again, if you can like poke holes in someone's story or, you know, prove that that didn't happen. Again, how do you prove that something didn't happen? It seems interesting. Now, a lot of people have said that they don't want him to come after them and that they are scared. I mean, I know a lot of people will probably not love that a lot of these accounts and statements are so anonymous, but a lot of these people are very scared of him, especially because he has had, you know, the personal and private information and contact information for a lot of his mods and ex-mods. Like I said, it is a very tight-knit group that can be pretty culty. So to wrap up this video, I personally do think that Ethan Morris, like I said, EthansAdventures is a perpetually horny man baby who wants to get his way and doesn't like not getting his way, who exploits the people who do a lot for him, keep in mind for free, and has really been able to be a stain on the magic and the magical experience that is Disney and their multiple franchises and parks as well. Now, if you disagree with my assessment that Ethan Morris has a little cult at his feet that he's built, that's okay. You don't have to agree. But the point of this video was to be able to give a voice to a lot of the victims and people who have had not great experiences with him and just continue to call out that behavior. I mean, it was deafening. It was overwhelming and too loud for us to just ignore and move on and make another video. These stories deserve to be shared, not silenced and removed from groups and muted and things like that. They deserve to be heard and shared. Personally, I think that Ethan should be, I don't know if he should be banned from TikTok, maybe, but I do definitely think that he should be banned from all Disney properties or Disney adjacent properties because, in my opinion, he's a true menace and doesn't deserve to be there. My researcher, Kelly, and I would like to take a quick moment to thank the victims in this situation that were brave enough to come forward, even if it was completely anonymously, but who trusted us to be able to put something together to give them a louder voice and to prop up those many voices that have been victimized, terrorized, and manipulated and exploited, or even hurt by Ethan Morris. So all in all, just listen to your gut. Remember, you can revoke consent at any time. And Stay spicy. Know that your story is valuable and your feelings are valid. Stay assertive and a little bit delusional so you can, achieve all of your dreams. If you are subscribed, your butt looks so good. And if you are not subscribed, I hope that your armpits smell like what I can only imagine Ethan Morris's skid mark stained undies smell like. Horrific. Absolutely diabolical. Anyways, I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.